Well, hey there, gang. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good day. This video originally started as me trying to show you the steps it took to install an inexpensive B-bender unit on a Telecaster style guitar. And the B-bender unit in question is made by a company called Re-LapZ by CB Gitty. I will show you that on the screen in just a second, but I'm going to describe what I actually went through. I had a whole bunch of false starts with it because I thought, well, I wanted to change out the string trees at the same time and put roller trees in there. And that didn't work because the roller trees I had were too high. I was having a hard time adjusting the thing until I kind of figured out mechanically what was going on and why it only works in a certain position. So basically, rewinding the whole thing, I'm going to try to get as close to the bottom line here as I can about whether you want to go through this and try it for yourself. But we're going to short circuit a lot of that stuff, which I'll probably show you as far as my frustration's concerned about how it's actually not as simple as it looks to actually install the thing. So we're going to start out and I'm going to show you the unit itself as it's shown from the CB Gitty. So here it shows two of the bender units that are installed, one on the B string and one on the G string. And you can see that it's definitely a DIY sort of installation here. The parts are machined, so they do, machine them, and I think they're hardened as well. But it's kind of kludgy looking. It's not elegant, that's for sure. But anyway, the idea being what it does is that when you press down on the arm there, it pulls the string tighter through the back of the bridge plate. And that's how you get your half step or full step note change. So we're going to show you the next thing here is I'll show you the parts that come with it. So bingo, and I'll get my little pointer up on the screen. I want to show you what these are. All right, so first of all, you have the arm, which is basically that pulls on this lever here. When you press down on the arm, pulls on this lever. And what that does is that this has a hole in it for the string. So the string goes through the bridge plate and out this little tiny hole here at the bottom of this lever arm. And then the screw for the roller bridge unit comes out through here, and the string goes through the bridge plate, up and over the roller bridge, over to your tuners. Now this assembly right here is the kludgy part, which is your stop assembly. So that determines whether you're going up a half a step or whether you're going up a full step or whatever it is you've dialed into the unit. All right, so now let's go to the instructions so you can see kind of what's happening here. Show it from the side so you can see string comes through here, goes over the roller, goes down here, goes through the back of the bridge plate, through that little lever arm that we were talking about. The string comes out here. And then the saddle screw also goes through to the lever arm. And this simply adjusts your intonation back and forth. And then here's the stop set that controls exactly how much bend you get from the note. Quick comment, because you can see it real easily here, is you see where the bender bracket goes up and over the bridge plate. Well, that does two things. Yeah, that gives you your angle here, so that's what actually bends the note. But at the same time, this is also pulling on the saddle ever so slightly. So down here, you get the full length of it, but up here, you're getting a little bit of movement from the saddle. So the roller saddle is actually sliding a little tiny bit across the bridge plate here whenever you press down on the bender lever. It makes a little bit of difference because this doesn't always return to zero. It returns to zero, I say 99% of the time, but occasionally that hangs up right here on, sorry, it hangs up on the saddle right here, just a little bit. So what can you say? It's a design issue, but then again, this only costs $39 compared to a lot of the other ones on the marketplace. All right, so let's turn that off and that off. And now I'm going to show you a picture of the bridge plate that is typical for most of these sorts of guitars. As you can see, and this will become more important as I show you the actual view of the unit with the camera, each one of these string holes right here is actually slightly offset from the saddle adjustment screw. So that means when the string comes over the saddle, it doesn't go dead center down the middle of it. It goes off at a slight angle. Now this is typical for 95% of the Telecaster bridges that you're going to find out there. They're all going to have this, if they're a through string design, they're all going to have this hole slightly offset. And that's because you don't want the string actually touching the spring that's on the roller bridge. The reason for that is because then you get spring noise. So this comes off to the side. And I honestly, I went through and I looked at probably 50 different Telecaster bridges. And there is not a single one of those that centers this, that centers those string holes right over where the roller bridge adjustment screw comes out. It's always off to the side. And that's kind of important because, as I'll show you with the actual camera, it tends to cause the Re-LapZ unit to get a little bit out of adjustment. All right, so let's go back here. We'll turn all this off. And now we're going to run ourselves over to the camera that's actually on the guitar, looking at it right here. I'm going to kind of yell over to get my voice to be picked up by the microphone, but I want to show you the couple of things here. So here you can see right there, you can see how that string hole at the bottom is not centered, right? So it's coming off at an angle. What that does is that causes, when you press down on the lever arm here, if the lever arm is not slightly to the left, this whole unit right here will collapse out of the way. And I'll show you this right now. All right, so we can press down here. See, that works fine. We'll actually play it in a second so you can hear the bend note. But if I try to move the arm to a more comfortable playing position, like away from where you're picking, this whole unit is going to just collapse like that. It just falls off to the side. So the only place where this doesn't happen is when it's placed just slightly to the inside of where the string is. And that sort of counteracts that tendency for the string, which is pulling at an angle off at the bottom. That sort of counteracts it and lets it pull straight. So we'll go ahead and I'll just turn the guitar unit on here. And we'll pluck a string. Okay, that's enough. That gives you an idea that, yeah, it does bend. No doubt about it. And let's turn the bridge view off there. Okay, well, we're back in full view. Have another swig of my Monster Energy drink here. Ah. All right. So what are we going to conclude from this? Well, we're going to conclude that a $39 B bender is probably not going to work like something that's $450 or $299 or even $199. It is what it is. It has a tendency, as I said before, that little sliding action of the roller bridge unit across the bridge plate. It does have a very, very tiny effect on the intonation and return to zero. We're going to try, as I said earlier, we're going to try putting a stronger spring in there into the roller bridge unit. So hopefully that will pull it back into position every time. I don't know if that's going to help that much or not. But, you know, you're going to have to be aware that this is a very DIY installation here, and it is not simple. I mean, it looks very simple, but actually lining everything up and getting it in position and then adjusting it and so on and so forth, you're going to be putting some time into it. The thing that I will say about this is it probably works better on a lap steel or even a cigar type, a cigar box guitar, because those have fixed bridge plates, and usually, I can't say always, but the bridge, the saddles on those and the string holes are in alignment with each other. That's very typical of a lap steel. So that's going to have less of an impact on whether or not the unit falls off to the side or not. But I don't know that it's going to entirely get rid of it, because the only thing, again, that's holding it in position straight up and down is the string. So whatever tension's on the string, that's kind of what's holding that whole thing in position. All right. So that's my conclusion here. We are going to, the next thing I will do for this video is I'll just string the rest of the guitar up, and then we'll take a look at a couple of sounds on it and just see, how it sounds in kind of pedal steel mode. And I honestly don't know if I'm going to keep it on there. The biggest thing I'm concerned about is whether or not that little arm is going to actually be in the way of my picking. Not that I'm the greatest picker or player in the world, but it is what it is. All right, so we're going to pause this again. Okay, gang, I think I have this thing set up about as good as it's going to get. And I've noticed a few other things about it that probably it's not going to stay on this guitar. So I'm just going to play a couple of notes here. We'll just do some stuff. So you can start out here. We can bar this chord up here. So I think that's enough. I'm no bender expert, that's for sure, and it would take some practice for me to actually kind of figure this all out. But I had it set for going from the B to the C sharp full step, and what I found was that the screw on here, just even going off just a little bit to the side, the stop screw would land in a different spot depending on how you bent the note, depending on how you controlled the arm here. So you had to be pretty precise, because if you put it just a little bit off center, then it would hit the top of the roller bridge right here in a slightly different spot, which is enough to throw that stop action off just a little bit, so you could see a difference of maybe an eighth of a tone or something like that, depending on where that landed. And so you have to be very careful that you're always always bending it right back dead center on the middle of the roller bridge, roller saddle. So that's another kind of a drawback, I guess, that I call it for this particular unit. I think that if you're really serious about bending, having a bender on your guitar, you're probably best off getting one of the more polished up commercial versions of it. I think this is probably more suitable for a cigar box guitar, or perhaps for installing it on a lap steel or something like that. I just don't know that it's something that's going to work in practice unless you have a very, very specific use case for it. I certainly, given the amount of difficulty it takes to keep this adjusted properly and always coming back into position after you've bent a note, uh, you know, just saying, probably not worth the effort, but your mileage may vary. So anyway, that's my opinion on this. Be interested to hear your comments in the section below. And if you like what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe. If you don't, that's okay too. I just do this for fun. All right, catch you later. Bye.
Goodbye.